Okay, get this. We're going to dive into something really cool today. We're looking at a 1400-year-old scripture, right? One of the most revered texts on the planet. But what if, and this is the wild part, what if hidden inside its verses wasn't just spiritual guidance, but a precise, almost data-driven blueprint for leadership? Well, today, we're exploring a fascinating study that found exactly that.
You know, it's a really powerful question when you think about it. What happens when you take one of the most sophisticated tools of modern analysis, we're talking network science here, and you aim it at an ancient text known for its deep spiritual meaning? The researchers behind this, they weren't just reading it. No, they were mapping it, looking for a hidden architecture, a kind of secret structure inside. And this is what makes their approach so groundbreaking. On one side, you've got these ancient, sacred verses from Surah Al-Muzzammil, and on the other, you have network science, the same math they use to map social media networks or how diseases spread. So instead of seeing the text as just a list of instructions one after the other, they treated it like a living system of ideas and mapped out how every single concept connects to every other one.
So, the big question is, what did they find? Did this totally unconventional approach actually work? Well, it turns out it looks like there's a very, very deliberate system encoded right there in the text. So let's break down the blueprint they uncovered.
Okay, so this is the huge discovery. The network analysis showed that these verses aren't just a random collection of good advice. Nope, they form this incredible, integrated, six-part system, a step-by-step framework for building a leader, where each piece connects perfectly to the next. So, where does a system like this even begin? Well, like any strong building, it needs a foundation. And in this blueprint, everything, and I mean everything, is built on one single, unshakable anchor. They call this identity anchoring. And here's the key takeaway. Leadership development in this model doesn't start with a to-do list or learning a bunch of new skills. It starts with identity, with a strong, clear affirmation of who you are and what your purpose is. Before you do anything, you have to be anchored in who you are. And here's the really cool part. This isn't just some nice-sounding idea. The data absolutely screams it. You see that number? 786. That is a massive between-the centrality score for the node representing the leader's identity. Now, what does that mean? Well, in network science, it's like being the main hub at the world's busiest airport. Every single connection, every flight path has to go through it. It's mathematically the most important piece holding the entire system together. It's the linchpin.
All right, so you've got your anchor. Your identity is locked in. What's next? Well, the system immediately shifts into practical, hands-on work. The model lays out this disciplined, nightly training regimen that's all about building real, tangible capacity.
This regimen really boils down to two core practices. First up is nocturnal discipline. This is all about strategically using the night, when it's quiet, when you can really focus, for deep preparation. Then there's deliberate recitation. And this isn't just mindlessly reading. It's a specific cognitive exercise. Slow, measured, intentional speaking that's designed to literally structure your thinking and help you absorb information on a much deeper level.
And again, check this out. The data totally backs this up. Stand and night prayer gets a huge connector score of 288. That tells us it's the key action that kicks off this whole discipline practice. And recite the Quran is right there with a score of 259, acting as this critical bridge that connects the spiritual work with the mental work.
So you might be wondering, why this specific training, right? What's the whole point of this nightly routine? Well, it's all about preparation. It's about building the inner strength, the fortitude you're going to need for what's coming down the pike.
The study has a great name for this outcome: cognitive emotional fortification. And I love this. Think of it like a weightlifter getting ready for a huge lift. You don't just walk up and grab the bar. You train for months building muscle. This training is the exact same idea, but for your mind and emotions. It's designed to expand your mental bandwidth so you can handle a really heavy load without buckling.
And this is where the genius of the system's structure really shines. All of that training is there for one reason: to prepare the leader for what the text calls a weighty revelation, basically a huge responsibility. And look at where it sits in the network. It's a pivot point, and it's placed structurally after the training. The model makes sure you're strong before the weight gets put on your shoulders. It makes so much sense. Okay, so we've covered the identity anchor and the nightly training to build strength. So now we get to the payoff. The final stages are all about how you take that internal preparation, optimize it, and then actually use it out in the real world.
This is where we get this incredible multiplier effect. It's not just addition, it's multiplication.
The researchers call it spiritual cognitive optimization. The idea is that the spiritual practice and the mental structuring, they don't just add up, they feed off each other. They create this heightened state of focus, clarity, and alertness, something you couldn't get from either one alone. It's like 1 + 1 = 3 here.
So, what do you do with this optimized state? Well, the model draws this really sharp contrast between night and day. The night is your time for consolidation, for focus, for getting optimized. The day, on the other hand, is chaos. It's distraction, overload, all your worldly duties. The whole point of the night training is to prepare you for something called temporal strategic deployment. That's a fancy term for using that laser focus you built at night to effectively navigate the chaos of the day.
All right, we've walked through every single piece of the puzzle. Now, it's time to put it all together. Let's step back and see what this entire leadership blueprint looks like when you see it all at once. So let's actually put it all together and see what this hidden architecture looks like in action.
Okay, so as we look at this full map, here's a super quick guide on how to read it. You're going to see 6 different colored clusters. Each one is one of the core concepts we just talked about. Look for that identity node right at the top, anchoring the whole thing. And just notice that beautiful, clear flow from top to bottom, from the nighttime prep work straight down to daytime action.
And there it is, the whole pathway, laid out. It all starts with step 1, identity anchoring. That kicks off step 2 and 3, nocturnal discipline and deliberate recitation. That training builds step 4, cognitive emotional fortification, which leads to that peak state, step 5, spiritual cognitive optimization. And finally, all of that gets put into action with step 6, temporal strategic deployment during the day. I mean, look at it. It's a complete, integrated, and honestly, a surprisingly modern system for human development, isn't it?
So what's the big takeaway from all of this? Well, the study's conclusion really says it all. The authors write that spiritual texts can encode these structurally coherent developmental models, and then we can actually find them using empirical network analysis. I mean, think about that. It's proof that these ancient texts can hold these incredibly sophisticated structured models, and that we finally have the tools to see them. It's like building a bridge between two worlds that almost never talk to each other.
And that just leaves us with this one final, really fascinating thought, right? If a system this detailed, this logical, can be found hidden in just a handful of verses from one ancient text, it really makes you wonder, what other ancient blueprints for becoming a better human are out there, just waiting for us to find the right way to look at them?